Well, here we have an IBM Aptiva PC. It's really filthy, so today we're going to be restoring it and then trying out some games. Let's get started. Since the computer is a whole set, there's 5 components of it we need to clean: the keyboard, mouse, monitor, and computer. So let's start with the computer first. It appears it's been sitting in someone's garage for well over 20 years, so I'll go ahead and use some multi-clean as well as some paper towel to give the top a wipe down. That's looking a whole lot better already. Now let's go ahead and clean the rest of the case. For all these ridges in the plastic, I'm going to go ahead and use a toothbrush and some multi-clean just to get all the grime out. I'm gonna give the case's main plastics a thorough clean now. And we can't forget about this little bit up here. Now I'm going to go ahead and unscrew the case so we can clean up the inside of this PC too. It really wasn't all that dirty inside, so I just gave it a clean with a brush to get the majority of the dust out of the bottom of the case. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and remove the CPU cooler and give it a clean. This next part is probably my favourite part of cleaning up computer heatsinks. Look at how satisfying this is. Once that's off, I'll go ahead and give it a clean with some isopropyl alcohol. Looks good as new. Now I'll go ahead and reassemble the cooler so we can put it back in the PC. I'll just give the CPU a little clean with some isopropyl alcohol to make sure that it'll make a good bond with the heatsink. Now we can go ahead and apply some thermal paste to the CPU. This will do a much better job at cooling it than that 20-year-old thermal pad. From there we can go ahead and put the cooler on, and this PC should run a lot cooler now. Nice. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and switch out the yellow CD drive with a non-yellow DVD drive, just for aesthetics. And I'll close the door. And this computer also has a Quantum Bigfoot hard drive, something really consumer oriented in the 90s. What an interesting find. I'm gonna go ahead and put the PC's lid back on and then screw it back on, since we're basically done with the PC itself at this point. doesn't that look amazing? Awesome. Okay, now it's time to move on to cleaning the monitor. Let's get right into it. I'll go ahead and use some isopropyl alcohol and a toothbrush to give all these grooves a good clean. Next, I'll just use some multi-clean to give the bezels a wipe. And now to really get rid of all these little deep marks, I'm going to go ahead and use a Scotch-Brite to remove them easily. Moving on to the side of the monitor, as we can see it's pretty filthy, but I managed to clean it up alright. And the toothbrush sure came in handy for this part. The other side of the monitor had this big bit of tape which I was able to peel off easily. And it wasn't actually too dirty, but I still gave it a good wipe down anyway. Who knows where this thing's been. And the toothbrush sure came in handy again. Moving on to the top of the monitor, this was probably the dirtiest part of this whole system. I mean, gosh, look at all that gunk. But luckily I was able to remove most of it with a toothbrush, followed up by a screwdriver with some paper towel over it. And look at this last bit, how dirty is this? Ready? How cool was that? And look at all that gunk gone. Next, I removed the base from the monitor and gave that a clean too. And I didn't forget about the back either. Here I gave it a good clean. Now I'm going to turn my attention to the keyboard, which isn't actually that dirty, so I'm just going to give it a quick wipe down. Last but not least, we have the mouse. And it was pretty clean, so I just gave it a wipe down, took the ball out, gave that a clean, and reassembled it. Well, that's about it for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.